This is a door off of an MGA. Obviously been sanded back to bare metal, and the bare metal is aluminium. What we're looking at here is a hole where there shouldn't be a hole, and our task today is to fill this in. As I'm saying, this is an aluminium skin on a steel frame. Where the aluminium is wrapped over here, the steel underneath is kind of coming through. But this is not really sticking to it. And then once you get away from that, yep, aluminium, and pretty darned thin aluminium too. I'm just trying to figure how thick this is rather, and I cannot get a mic in the hole. Just been trying. Oh! No, I don't think it's going to come out far enough to get the anvil flat against the sheet. No, we need a special mic to do that. But I've got here. This is 1.5mm aluminium. Just put that against the edge of where the hole is. So can we see that? Well, I reckon this is thinner than 1.5. Probably 18 gauge, maybe 48 thou. So we're going to have to make a little fill-in piece. What I will probably do is file this out a bit to make sure that it's nice and clean around the edges. Trace around it from the inside. Cut a little patch out. And not super accessible on the inside. So we've got this steel frame in the way. But yeah, trace around this on the inside, scribe a line around that, cut a little patch out, try and set it in. Maybe tack it from this side with the MIG, maybe. It's going to be quite hard to get a TIG torch in there. We'll see. And then once you've got it tacked on this side, try and weld it around on the outside. That's the plan. Well, there's our little patch. I don't know if you call it a patch. The patch goes over a hole, and this is actually in the hole. But yeah, and there's some little ditty MIG spots holding that in place. If we look on the other side, we've got a little spot blobbed through. And I've tried to make it so that on this side it's ever so slightly proud, so when we finally get it welded all the way around, it can be sanded off and hopefully be smooth. I don't know what the weld's going to do with distortion on something like this. Quite often you try and fill in something on flat sheet and the weld sinks. I suppose it could always be beaten back out flat, which is not our job. That's going to be the job of the guy who's doing the body work. But I'm tempted to try and go all the way around this with the MIG. It would be nice to get the inside properly fully welded all the way around so that can be sanded off smooth as well. It doesn't really matter, it's on the inside, and this is going to have a trim panel across it. I would imagine it must do, mustn't it? So nobody's going to see this until they take the panel off, of course. But once the outside's welded, this could be ground smooth. The little bumps can be sanded off, and if they wanted to, they could just put a little bit of filler in there, couldn't they? Just to hide the join, paint it over, and no one would be any the wiser. Oh, I don't know. Can we get into it, at it with a jigsaw? It's not easy to see what you're doing here. Not easy to aim these spots, but if I come at it from here, I should be able to just go across there, down there. I think I might have a go at this. Got the welder set at 1.4mm thickness, 50 amps, we shall say. Well, I turned the welder down a little bit, 1.3mm thickness and 40 amps. And I also turned this down a bit. I'm not entirely sure what that does, or the one underneath. It would be really handy to get a manual for this machine. It didn't come with one. But yeah, and the weld is a pretty horrible blobby MIG affair, so most of that's going to be, come on focus camera, most of that's going to be ground off, but hopefully it will have the job of providing a kind of a backing when I weld the other side. Hopefully less likelihood of burning through, although having said that, I have already burnt through with the MIG. And if we look on the other side, we've got a bit of penetration coming out here. Oh, just have to be really, really careful, really low amps, bit by bit, and hopefully we can seal that up. Well, I decided to sand down the weld on the inside, even though it is on the inside and it's going to get covered over, and once the car's back together nobody's going to see it. It was a bit ugly, blobby, and the guy who's doing the paintwork, I kind of thought I'd like to have it look a bit better. It's pretty good. There's a couple of little pieces, you can see that little bit there, that little bit up there, a couple of low spots on the edge of the weld, but otherwise I think that's not too bad. and this is the outside, TIG welded, a bit blobby in places. This bit here is where the MIG came through from the inside, so that, well, a bit too much metal there. There's a couple of reasonable looking pieces here. That's quite a nice little bit of welding. That's not too bad down there. And I went with a pure alley rod. Not sure what the skin of the door is made of. Generally, sheet metal, if it's got anything in it, it'll have magnesium in it, but I didn't want to use a 5% mag rod because it's quite hard, so didn't want to use the 5% silicon because it's sheet, so went with a pure, and that was okay. So all we've got to do now, sand that smooth and hope that it's all flat and there's no low spots. Didn't seem to be too much distortion, but again, we're not going to see that until we smooth this off. So that's next. Well, we're getting there, but I think we need a bit of a tap out from the other side before we carry on with this. That's just about it, I think. Final little go over with the orbital sander. Two tiny little low spots, but I'll push to see it from here. Just there, there. Well, I can see that, but I can't feel it. That one, oh, I don't know. That's not bad. It's obviously got to be painted anyway. Kind of here somewhere. can see it just about there. There. That's not bad. Well, you can actually just see the welds in here, where I've just given it a rub over with some 240 kind of emery cloth, if you like. But all in all, I think that's pretty decent. Not sure if there's been any distortion here, whether this bit has actually lifted. Can happen. Feels like a kind of a dip in this area, so this might have lifted up a bit, but I'll go back to Bodywork guy and he can decide if he needs to do anything with that. Yeah, happy with that. Where's it gone? Where the heck? Just there. Not that easy to see. Cool.